Okay, very good morning. Good morning. So on behalf of my co-chairs, IoT Forum, ISA and TiE Bangalore, I welcome you to the 5th anniversary of IoTNext. We have a host of curated panels, talks, celebrations and awards for the next 2 days. But before we get started, I just want to briefly update you about the activities of IoT Forum and IoTNext in the last 5 years. IoT Forum is a think tank to build the IoT ecosystem in India, started way back in 2014. And its single biggest mission is to raise IoT quotient of India. We track, we mentor, we engage corporate startups, end users in discussions, monthly meetups on relevant topics. We curate forums, articles, resources for the growing IoT community. We take several advocacy positions. In the past, we have done for LPWAN, IoT security. We publish the IoT directory, which is the single most comprehensive directory for all IoT startups, over 1,500 of them. We host monthly meetups, and we do 2 annual events, IoT Day in April, and this annual summit, IoTNext. We are getting very active with global connects for our IoT startups as well. JETRO, the trade body of Japan, is a partner for IoTNext this year. We have attendees and speakers this year from several Japanese corporations. French Trade Commission and SwissNext are attending IoTNext as well. TiE Bangalore and ISA are very complementary partners for IoTNext and IoT Forum. ISA provides the expertise and networks around electronics, semiconductors, design, manufacturing, and connects to the government, academia, and so forth. And TiE Bangalore, with its roots in the startup ecosystem, mentorship with startup founders, VC and angel investor networks and connects, workshops, seminars, and structured programs to benefit the startups and the founders. If you take a quick view of the ecosystem, IoT ecosystem in India, it's actually a microcosm of the entire world, especially in Bangalore. We have got 1,200 MNCs now with strong R&D presence in India. Many of them are doing their IoT developments out from Bangalore and India. And a lot of them have startup program connects. While IoT adoption has been pretty slow in India, except for a logistics sector and so forth, but Indian corporates are finally waking up. We still, unfortunately, have to rely on more advanced markets to scale. But India is the IT hub of the world, and most IT services companies have pretty significant IoT practices now. At my last count, over 250 plus projects, IoT projects, have been executed by these companies, and they are scaling up now. The IoT ecosystem we have seen in the last 5 years, it has evolved both in terms of quality and quantity. And today, we have many startups. We have raised significant amount of venture capital investment. They have acquired global customers, and even small M&As have happened as well in the last couple of years. So today evening, we have a very engaging discussion. How do we make India a global IoT solutioning brand, which we have done so successfully with IT? So moving on, what does IoT Forum do? It is a multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary approach. We go both wide and deep. When we started back in 2014, the focus was more on design for manufacturability, IoT stack components like IoT platforms and LPWAN technologies. It subsequently moved to the edge and IoT security. But as the startup ecosystem matured, as product development went to more pilots and actual sales, we moved towards more investor connects. We moved towards customer connects, partner connects. And last year, we even did an M&A track as we saw multiple acqui-hires starting to happen. Now, if you have not been part of IoT Forum, it is a volunteer-run organization. I urge you to join, contribute, join our Telegram channel, write and contribute articles, and take ownership of a particular item and run with it. So more on this from Arvind Tiwari later on. Moving on to IoTNext now, the goal of the annual conclave has always been to stay ahead, a more of a futuristic view about what's coming in the next couple of years. IoT, what we realized, is obviously too broad, so we take very specific topics of interest each year, few market verticals, few technology verticals, and tend to go deep. We bring the entire IoT community together, bring in global leadership and experts, and together we co-learn, debate, and deliberate. So just to give you an example of a few things we have done for IoTNext in the past, the entire story of India's stack was presented at IoTNext 2015. Benjamin Joff of HAX, the largest hardware accelerator, world's global accelerator, was a special guest at IoTNext 2016. We partnered with CISO platform to debate the IoT security and introduce the importance of AI ML in way back in 2016. In IoTNext 2017, we did a hackathon that broke all IoT devices within the first 6 hours. We did an IoT investor panel as things got heated up on the funding side in 2017. Arvind Tiwari, our chairman for IoT Forum, introduced a techno-legal framework for IoT security. India's CISO, Dr. Gulshan Rai, was the keynote speaker for us in IoTNext 2017, and we explored the logistics market, which was just taking off in 2017. In 2018, we focused on using a super light version of blockchain Lite. Our focus was on edge computing, more on transformation on the edge, which we plan to elaborate this year as well. And we started IoTNext Awards way back in 2015, targeting visibility to the award winners. At every opportune moment, we connected them to investors, customers, and partners. We showcased them to international delegations and MNCs as well. So if you look at this year, IoTNext 2019, we step back from just the hyper-connected world. Obviously, IoT is taking the physical world to digital. Augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality is doing the same by bringing the digital world to us in the physical world. Both are generating humongous amounts of data. AI ML is crunching this data, improving the outcomes and experiences over time. And of course, security concern is at its peak. Data ownership are being hotly debated as well. So focus has turned not just from a technology standpoint, but now what do you do with all of these technologies? How would you create an enchanting, immersive experience for the users that improves over time? That's kind of the theme of the conference. At the same time, business models, future revenue streams, loss-making versus profitability are all paradigms that we are struggling with. So to culminate all of these seemingly different technologies coming together, IoT, AR, VR, AI, ML is what we call this year's theme, IoT Matrix. So what do you expect in the next 2 days? Day one, we have a keynote on IoT Matrix, the green pill, which symbolizes the different technologies and solutions kind of harmoniously working together to create this immersive experience. We have some fantastic demos on stage by 2 startups, PlayShifu and Imaginate, and as well as Microsoft. We reimagined the agriculture with disruptive IoT with the chairman of NABARD, senior management of ITC, Bayer, and partners from Omnivore and NAB Ventures. In the evening, we celebrate our past success story of IoTNext awardees. We see where they are at, and we announce the IoTNext 2019 awards. We kick off today morning with a couple of very interesting keynotes, leveraging technology for human transformation and 5G, a transformative network for IoT and AR/VR. And finally, in the evening, we have a panel discussions on how to make India a globally relevant brand for IoT solution, right? Moving on to day 2, we start off looking at IoT security. Fresh thinking was introduced back in 2017 by Arvind Tiwari. We kind of deliberate on that. Use cases and state of technology on edge, AI, ML, on edge compute. The state of affairs on industrial IoT, and most importantly, the AR, VR in an industrial setting. Multiple use cases and startups are presenting tomorrow. Crowdsource approach to air pollution monitoring and reduction. Launch of the IoT Open Labs by STPI. And the grand finale is going to be the formula for enterprise, large enterprises. How do they work with the nimble startups? So I thank all my sponsors for IoTNext 2019. Besides the main conference, we have over 30 booths outside by startups showcasing their solutions. We have a dedicated experience zone as well for phygital and digital twin startups, and a deep edge workshop by ST Microelectronics and Gaia Smart Cities is ongoing at IISC from 10 to 1:30 today. So have fun, co-learn, network, use your social media copiously, use hashtag IoTNext, use hashtag raise IoT quotient, and couple of basic rules and etiquettes. Please switch off your mobile or put into vibrate mode. So let the IoTNext begin. I now request Dr. Satya Gupta, Vice Chairman of ISA. He was the co-founder and CEO of Senzop Technologies India. He was the founder and CEO of Concept to Silicon, an Indian semiconductor design company, which was acquired by HCL in October 2005. I invite Satya Gupta, Dr. Satya Gupta on stage to talk about ISA and IoTNext. Satya? Is this mic on?
So on behalf of ISA, I welcome all dignitary sponsors and the participants who have got together here to represent basically electronics and semiconductor community and driving the IoT. I'll take a couple of minutes to basically say a few things. So when we gather in these kind of the forums, right, on one side, basically, we celebrate the growth and the success stories which have happened since we met here 1 year back. And IoT has seen basically significant growth, not in just number of companies, but people started to basically realizing their innovation into business opportunities. Companies have started adopting the IoT solutions, and we are starting to see basically the IoT innovation which has happened over last 5 years through about 1,500 companies, as the IoT directory says, is starting to becoming a real thrust in the business proposition. So I think so much set the stage. I just want to share few things which are basically different this particular technology has done over the 5 years, right? One significant thing which has happened in context of India is geographic inclusivity, right? So earlier, if you see that most of the basically technology will be centered in 2-3 cities, right? But if you go through the IoT directory and look at the basically the companies, although concentration is still in cities like Bangalore, but we see large number of companies in all parts of the country, be it basically Jammu to Kerala to Guwahati, everywhere basically things start happening. So this is a very positive sign because this gives basically everybody to participate into the whole moment, right? So that's basically something which is pretty new to this high-tech ecosystem. Now, the other aspect of this conference is while we celebrate the past successes, also look at the opportunities and challenges basically which are there in front of us for basically next couple of years. I think the way basically the technology is evolving around IoT, intelligent electronics, AI, ML and all those basically areas, it has the fantastic potential to drive government's vision of basically $1 trillion digital economy and $5 trillion overall economy, because this is going to be the core of the $1 trillion digital economy, and I think we are poised to make it happen. Not just basically typical high-tech technology and gadgets. These technologies have significant potential to make difference in areas like healthcare, education, agriculture, environment, and some of those things basically you have seen in Som's presentation. And over the years, the significant R&D which has happened in the multinationals, academia, as well as if you see in past 3 to 4 years, the manufacturing ecosystem has also started growing. So putting it all together, I think we are at the cusp of basically making big out of this technology. At ISA, we are very focused on basically making the ecosystem flourish. And some of the initiatives which basically may later be talked about is that basically one of the key initiatives working with MIT and STPI, we are trying to set up basically something entity called Electropreneur Park in almost all the states of the country. The first one was set up in Delhi. The second one is coming up in Bhubaneswar. And coupled with that COEs, I think tomorrow you will see the inauguration of the IoT COE Open Lab, and basically another COE is coming in the Patna for Agri-Tech. So I think, as I said in the beginning, is that geographic diversity. So through this Electropreneur Park and EP, we are trying to basically bring the, take the technology to all the part of the basic in this thing. Other couple of initiatives of ISA e-Playground, which is trying to create an ecosystem and marketplace for all the electronics ecosystem, startups, manufacturing companies, design services company to bring the whole marketplace. So to conclude, abhi kya karenge? So to conclude, I think I see a lot of discussions and deliberation going for next 2 years, as Som pointed out, an exciting program, and hope we'll come out with basically strategies and solutions to some of the challenges. I see there are 3 or 4 areas where we still need to put a lot of effort. One is scaling up the business. Second will be the funding. Still basically funding in this area is weak. Supply chain is weak. Manufacturing is basically coming up but still weak. But through this deliberation and working through the government and other agencies, hopefully we will be able to solve those problems in next 1 year. So wishing all the best to all the participants, organizers and key organizers for putting this together. Arvind is basically very passionate about this thing and driving it very hard. Som, Venki, everybody, thank you so much for putting it together.
So thank you, Satya. So I now invite Ravi Gururaj, President of TAI Bangalore, to come on stage and speak a few words.
Good morning, and welcome to Yashwantpur. I think all of y'all have braved the traffic to get here on time. I wanted to thank you for that. I know it's no mean feat to get here on time, but I think you're in for a very rich day. I think Som did a fantastic job of making sure none of y'all left early, and I myself am thinking, stay the whole day. I'm here all day tomorrow, but maybe even the rest of the day to really imbibe everything that's happening. I wanted to thank first and foremost our supporters. All of them are listed on the screen behind, without whose help we would not be able to put on the show. That's a given. So thank you for your support, your continuing support, and I hope you will continue to support the forum in the years ahead. I wanted to also thank all the volunteers, starting with the committee that makes up the forum, and led by Arvind and Som and Venki and so many others. I mean, actually it's grown. All of them have put lots of passionate effort into this. This is way beyond, I think, 5 years in when we started this out, 6 years in. It started with a certain vision. I think it's outgrown all of that for sure. And I think, the next 5 years will be the challenge. And, I'll talk briefly on what I think the potential is. Last week, I spoke, I think maybe last week, I spoke at a SaaS conference, and the $1 trillion number was thrown out. And, it's thrown out a lot nowadays, right? It's the new fashionable number, and I think Dr. Satya mentioned it too. I always ask first, is it $1 trillion in revenue, is it $1 trillion in valuation, or is it $1 trillion in GMV? And the number is big regardless, okay? $1 trillion in GMV also is hard, even if you're doing e-commerce, right? The number is even harder if you say valuation. So for instance, you take Salesforce's valuation, and 1 trillion means you need about 8 sales forces today in the market, okay? To get to 1 trillion in valuation. And Salesforce doesn't sell at a small premium. It's 140 PE, okay? So that's a big number. So at 140 PE, you need 8 of them to get to 1 trillion. Now you add up, if you say revenue, it's another ballgame altogether, right? Salesforce has about $20 billion in revenue. So divide a trillion by 20, and then you know how many sales forces you need to get to $1 trillion in revenue. So, but the good news is, I think it's actually possible in IoT. I think because what is the law of large numbers? So if you're going to get to a large number on one side, you better have another large number on one side of your equation somewhere. So that when you multiply them, and especially if you can multiply a very large number by a reasonable number to get to the very large number, that's how the mobile industry is worth $1 trillion, right? Or plus. I mean, if you see, most of the companies that are at $1 trillion now, with the exception of Microsoft, which is more enterprise, are touching mobile devices of some kind. And so the way I think about IoT is, say trillions of devices at a few bucks each, and you get to $1 trillion quite easily, okay? So no other industry does this equation add up, for me, in the present time. So I think, the challenge for us is to see how many companies from India will actually contribute towards that trillion, right? And I hope the IoT Forum will take on as its mandate for the next 5 years is to really push hard to make sure we have a few $10 million companies, a few $50 million companies, a few $100 million companies, and then you may get to a few billion, and that gets you to a few trillion, right, Arvind? So I think that should be the goal, I think, going forward, because I think we've done lots of good work up to here, lots of policy work, lots of frameworking, lots of, education, evangelism, but all of that now, I think over the next 5 years, the challenge really is to scale up and to really scale up revenues, to build real companies that are delivering. And I'd say early challenge might be, can we get 100 $1 million ARR companies, right? That itself is hard enough. And that's not even getting you to 0.1 of a billion. Forget about a trillion. A trillion is another 1,000 of those, right? So I think, that would be a big challenge. And if we got there, those companies would get us to the other side, right? I mean, if you don't get to that first step, it's very hard to get the next one. So, I am running out of time, so I won't belabor the point. But I think, that's the potential for us here. I think Tai can bring, as Som well said already in his slide, the entrepreneurial ecosystem, the mentoring, that connects with the startup ecosystem, which our charter members, who are all members of the forum, do so well. And I think IESA can bring the rest of the components that are there for the electronics industry. So I hope we can kind of, in the future, think through what is the next step. And I think, the matrix is a good way to think about it in terms of where we're headed. I wanted to thank all of y'all, primarily the forum team, the sponsors, the volunteers, and the TIE team as well, and the IESA team who have done good work to bring this off. I look forward to the next 2 days. The awards is a fantastic showcase of many of the startups that are, got great potential, and I look forward to hearing who's been picked for this year. And, you're launching next year's awards already, so that's fantastic. I think, those have been really, I think, approximately 40 companies over the last 5 years that have been selected. Many of them are still around, which is good. I think you're picking early winners and recognizing those, and that's fantastic. So good luck, enjoy the show, and I look forward to being here and meeting many of you all today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to now invite a couple of my co-chairs on stage to light the lamp and inaugurate IoTNext. Dr. Satyagupta, Venki, Arvind, Ravi, please. And I would request Supriya Danda, MD and of Western Digital, to be on stage as well, please.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते